Hey, what's up, all? I am back again with another video here. This is going to be day two. Like I promised, I'm going to try to do this 5 days a week. So what we're going to do today, we already talked about in a previous video. If you haven't checked it out, please do. There's an intro, and again, the goal is here to start a brand from scratch, or start a product from scratch, hopefully build it into some type of a brand, and just show you how I do it, and just show you what it takes. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start looking for an actual product. I wanted to mention real quick too. I talked about how we're getting some of these funds together. Listen, you can do a lot of different things, but I talked about side hustles, whatever you got to do to get the money together. You know, if you really want to do this, do that. Get that money together. Find a way to save up some money to try to launch a product. You realize in the scheme of things, you know, 8,000 is not that much money. Over time, if you can save it up, if it takes you 6 months, then launch a product in 6 months. If it takes you a year, then launch one product a year. Hopefully you'll have one that's successful. But you've got to do something like that, right? You need to get the money together to do this, because you're going to have some. And we talked about the different expenses yesterday, different things you're going to need. So today I'm going to be looking for a product. I'm going to start with a product, and then I'm going to go in reverse. So then I'm going to try to figure out the target audience, try to research that target audience if I don't already know it, and then we're going to try to find, what they're interested in, what they would want in a product. Try to kind of become experts in that little niche, right? If we're not already. There's not many things I'm really that into, but there's a few things here and there that I would know what somebody would want. But even more so, we're gonna want to watch YouTube videos, figure out what it is people want out of a product, right? So first, let's find a product. And I haven't done this in quite a while. I'll be honest. I have here Helium. This is one of their tools called Black Box. It's Amazon Product Research. What I also have is I have Jungle Scout, which I also enjoy. They have a product database as well, and they have Product Tracker, Opportunity Finder, Niche Hunter. I like Opportunity Finder quite a bit in Product Database. Black Box has a ton of different ways to do it as well. They're both really good tools. So let's talk about the old way of doing things, right? When I first got into the Amazon game a few years back, it was all about finding low competition, high demand, and low competition. It's not impossible to find those products anymore, but things move a lot faster in some ways. What I mean when I say that is that things move fast, people get to market fast. If you put a product out there, within 4 or 5 months, you're going to have a copycat, probably a Chinese manufacturing copycat. I just launched, my other product, which I can't obviously identify. I just launched that one in August of last year, and I have a competitor by like January, February. So almost an exact duplicate. But what they don't realize is that I'm willing to put a ton of money into advertising. I already have a head start on reviews, and I'm already developing other products into that brand to grow that out. So I'm not going to slow down. I'm going to continue to build off of that, and I'm going to continue to be everywhere I can as far as advertising. So I'm going to spend the dollars. My profit went down, but I don't care. I'm going to continue to spend, because the moment you stop spending is where you go downhill and you don't make any more sales. So I had a lull in sales. I had a lull in profits because I was spending more and I wasn't selling as much. But now these sales have seemed to jump back up, at least this last week. I'm selling 30 plus a day. I was selling on the average about 34 a day units, but now I'm probably around 30, 31. It's starting to creep back up, and it's coming on strong. I am spending more than I was in advertising, but I don't care. I want to crush my competition, get as many reviews as I can, and get to the top of up to 1,000 reviews. You get up that high, you're going to make a lot of organic sales anyway. And I already am, because I'm advertising everywhere. So I'm willing to play that game if I can get there before everybody else, and I can create something a little different, and I can get myself up in the rankings. I'm going to do that, even if it costs me profit. I'm going to do that because in the long run, it's going to be a more viable product. It's going to last longer, and it'll build out a brand which can potentially sell. So this is the way I'm thinking. So without getting into too much of that, which we'll get into later, let's go ahead and try to find a product. Just putting in reviews now and searching for a product, it's not necessarily the way to go. And I'm going to explain why. And I have in a previous video. Not that you don't want... Here's my philosophy now on finding a product. And it's not the only thing. There's other factors which we'll go over. My thinking here is, I need to find a product that has fairly low reviews, maybe 200 or 300 or less, that's doing really well, maybe in a high competition market or even a high volume market. So, for example, if I see somebody with 50 reviews, 150 reviews, 200 reviews, and everybody else has, mostly like 1,000, 2,000, 700, 800, and they're crushing it, they're still doing like 15, 20 sales a day, I'm like, man, how are they doing that? Like, I want to know why. Is it their products that much better? Are they advertising better? What are they doing? So usually the story will unravel if you do a little research. And that's what I look for now. I look for those maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people in there that are launching these products that have, fairly low reviews. And it doesn't matter if the market overall looks saturated. If they're able to sell in that market, there's a way they're doing it. There's certain keywords they're addressing, certain keywords they're going after, and they may have something that's special with their product, but more than likely they may have maybe an update to it, which is great. You do want to help solve a problem. And again, identify your niche and understand it. But my point is that they're doing it somehow through certain keywords, right? And they do have a good product, obviously. You have to have that. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm not going to concentrate too much on reviews in the search, because overall, when I see those few guys doing those sales, maybe 2 or 3 guys in that niche doing really good sales at low reviews, if they can do it, why can't you? So you have to think about it kind of that way. And if there's a high volume market, that means there's tons to go around. There's tons of buyers out there. So you can try to find a low volume market or a lower volume market, medium to low. And if there's not a lot of sellers in there, you can get in there and maybe try to dominate that area if there's only a couple competitors. But the way I feel like it moves now, and I'm not saying it's not possible to do it. It used to kind of be the older way too. You find smaller markets that people don't really look at, the big boys don't look at. There's a couple things that have changed. These smaller markets have emerged into bigger markets now. So maybe I talked about yesterday, like maybe sewing. Maybe sewing wasn't a very big market, but maybe now it's a bigger market. Maybe there's like a niche within sewing, a special type of sewing, I don't know, that is a smaller niche that now is bigger because Amazon has such a huge hold on the e-commerce market, 50% basically. So maybe that small niche is now bigger and you can now sell under it. So maybe it doesn't have a ton of competitors. You can get in early, get a lot of market share, get a lot of reviews, and then maintain that share. It's all about the reviews, really, and good reviews at that. So I'm either looking for a smaller market with less competitors, and where I can help, hopefully dominate that. It's an emerging market, right? Or and even niche down more into creating a product that's very specific to that market. But I really don't want to necessarily niche down more unless there's really high volume. So let me give an example. Well, it's going to be difficult to give an example off the top of my head. But so I have a tape measure here. Let's say, okay, there's probably thousands of tape measures out there. Let's say there was a specific tape measure that had a laser on it, and it had a digital meter here that told you how much you go out as you pull it out. It just tells you digitally like how much you pull it out. So it's different, right? It's newer. That would be more niched down into that market, and you could specifically design little features around this tape measure to make it more niched down. I think a better example would be, let's say you're trying to niche it down for a specific group, like let's say teachers, right? So let's say you're trying to develop a book holder that holds books on a wall for teachers or something like that, right? Something that makes classroom organization better. So you would want to understand what struggles teachers have in the classroom in order for them to be able to organize their classrooms better. And it's going to probably vary too by age group. So right, if you have kindergartners versus 11th graders, there's going to be a massive difference between the two as far as how organization goes. You're going to have a lot of little things going on, probably papers and such, and you expect an 11th grader to almost organize themselves, but there's probably certain aspects you still want to be better organized. Maybe you want a nice folder that you can organize papers in 11th grade, organize their turned-in papers, right? But maybe if you're in kindergarten, maybe you want a thing that hangs on a wall so you can help organize the classroom better with all their little pieces and toys. So that's what I mean by niching down and making sure that you make it specific to that person. as a 11th or 12th grade teacher isn't going to have the same organizational needs as a kindergartner, right? So you're going to have a kindergarten teacher. So you're going to have to niche down to that specific group. Now you can make a general all-purpose organizer for teachers, right? You could do that, but is it going to, if you're a kindergarten teacher, wouldn't you rather have the specific organizational, whatever it might be, wouldn't you rather have one that's more specific to what you do with your kids? Same goes for, maybe you have a general organizer for teachers and you want to try to cover the whole market. That market's probably so massive that you're better off niching down to a specific part of that market because it's so big. So, for example, if it's 11th, 12th grade, maybe you want to, again, have a very specific one for where it breaks down, maybe have 30 or 40 folders specifically for each student, and maybe have like an organizer that sits on your desk that lets you, specifically go through each student's folder or information, right? Versus you could have some form of that for kindergartners, but also you want to have maybe little folders that hang on the wall so they can stack their papers in that they color. They'll probably have 100 of them, right? So again, that's maybe a bad example, but I don't think so. Not the overall. So again, a kindergartner teacher or first, second grade teacher or third grade teacher is not going to have the same organization. There will be a crossover stuff for sure, but if you niche it down and really find out what that second, third grade teacher needs versus what a 12th grade teacher needs, there's definitely going to be differences there, right? And even in the design itself, right? Like maybe as a kindergarten teacher, you want to have a cool folder that has dinosaurs on it. But do you want to have that folder as a 12th grade teacher? Maybe you do, but most people are going to want something that's professional looking, right? Because they want to exude that professionalism as a teacher of older kids. So it goes into everything. It goes into your design. It goes into how it's organized and how it's set up, specifically for that class or for that age group. So it's not specific to, I think you would understand my point of what I'm talking about. You want to niche down specifically to that specific group. So you could make something for all teachers, sure. A general thing. And maybe you'll catch the eye of most teachers. Like you could make a plaque that says, teaching's being a teacher is wonderful or whatever. Maybe that applies to all teachers, right? But maybe you have one specifically, again, for teaching my little ones is wonderful versus, I love teaching older kids English or whatever the case may be. So you can even make it specific to English. You can make it specific to a history teacher. You can make it specific to a kindergarten teacher. You can make it specific to whatever you want. But the more you niche down, the better, because in a large market like that, you basically corner that little spot of the market. So Ron Moran talks about this in some ways, and I'm kind of making it more specific to Amazon. But he talks about, you can corner a little piece of the market, whereas like these huge companies have they're very broad and they'll have the huge part of like the overall market. But because you're cornering a little piece of that market, that they can't really adapt to do that because they're so big. They'll likely buy you out and say, "Oh, I want this little piece." You have a little slither of the market. Maybe there's millions and millions of people looking for these types of products, but maybe you cater to a specific 1 million people over here in this little slit, little niche of the market, and that's where you're gonna get your sales at, because you don't have to make maybe 20, 25 sales a day to really create $1 million company if you have the right pricing. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to either find a very large market where I can niche it down and find a way to compete, or a smaller market with much less competition where I can kind of hopefully be one of the top few sellers that are in that before other sellers jump in and saturate that smaller market. And the way you see that is you see people with smaller reviews or lighter reviews doing sales, then you can do it too if you find out why they're doing sales and what keywords they're doing sales under. So that's really the key, in my mind, to product research. So that all being said, I hope you understand my philosophy on it, and it'll hopefully make more sense as I go through this. So I haven't done this in a while. There's no specific numbers you can put in here. That's why I love it. You can be creative with this. So what I do like to see, I want to see no more than a 15,000 BSR, because you're not going to make a lot of sales if you're up even higher. Now, if you're in a super huge market, super high volume market, you could probably make some decent sales at 20,000. And also the bigger you make the item, usually like larger items, because they're more expensive, they're not going to sell as many. That's not always the case, but like at one point I had covered like a huge cabinet, I think, in one of my videos, and the thing about that cabinet was, you could sell 10 a day and make a really good living because you make so much profit off of one sale. So higher ticket items can make you more money. I suggest you go somewhere around a minimum of like $60 or higher, because you want to have a good margin. Now, I do sell a product now where I sell it for half that price, right? Or even less. But even a third, really. It's just harder to do, and you have to have opportunity to do it. I'm not saying you can't, so maybe even do like 50 or above, because I don't want to price myself out of it if we don't have a huge budget. So let's say 45 and above, but ideally you want to go like $60, $70 or higher if you can afford it. If you don't have the budget, you're gonna have to go lower. I want to have under 15,000 generally. Monthly sales, I'd like to see that at least. Honestly, if it's a bigger item, it can be much less, right? Because, for example, if you sell when I say a bigger item, I mean a higher ticket item. They can literally be bigger too. A higher ticket item, if you make $30 a sale and you make 5 sales a day, that's $150, right? Profit. But if you only make $5 a sale on a lower ticket item, you got to sell a lot more. So monthly sales, it's going to vary depending on how big the item is, and we just don't know what we're going to do yet, right? Right? We don't know if it's going to be a higher ticket item or a lower ticket item. So I want to see a minimum of 500. I even like to prefer to like search for 1,000, but honestly, if you're selling a bigger item, you can sell 300 in a month and make good money if you make $40 off of sale, right? So it just depends on what you're looking for. I'm going to keep it kind of general, so let's just say like 500. Reviews. I don't really care about reviews right now. Again, I care about them when I'm looking for the product, but not in the search. So I'm not going to worry about that. Let's see. Weight. If you're looking for a bigger item, you're obviously going to go higher on that. When you're searching for like keywords, you want to get rid of, like, if it's around Christmas time, you want to get rid of Christmas, or if it's around like Thanksgiving, get rid of Thanksgiving, right? And like wreath, and like that's what stinks about doing product research during like at Christmas time. Just get rid of all these keywords, because everything that's seasonal just jumps way up. So yeah, don't worry about that too much right now, because we're not near Christmas. We're just going into summer, which also you're going to see water and pool products selling really well. So you have to understand that many products are seasonal as well. As far as like shipping tier, small, large, even small oversize, I don't really want to have too big of a product for this one, unless we're going to order a small amount, so maybe. Review rating. If you want to look for a product that needs improvement, you would want to go with a low review rating. Meaning if there was a product that was selling that was under 15,000 and it had like 3.5 stars, why the hell is that still selling? Are they the only ones there? Like, there's got to be a reason for that, and there's probably many opportunities to improve that product. So that's a good way to search. We're just not going to do it that way today. Monthly revenue. I want to see at least, revenue is important. At least 10,000, if not more. But you could even go 5,000 or 6,000. But let's just think about that. If you really want to make some decent money, that's what I'm gonna search for. So let's, of course, FBA. Well, not necessarily. You can find some good products FBM too. Let's see. I think that's about it. You can use a lot more things. Obviously, they have a lot more options here. I like that they have variation count, because like a lot of times you'll find a product but it'll have like 20 variations and it'll sell 30 a day. So it's hard to narrow it down. It's very expensive, like t-shirts, right? You have different sizes, different colors. Like, if you're a small seller just get into this, you don't want to try a bunch of t-shirts. So I'm not going to try that. Number of sellers, not going to worry about that, even though like that's for like big brand items, you're going to have a lot of sellers on them. Brand search, price change. I'm not going to worry about anything else. I am going to pick a category. There's a lot of good categories. Arts and crafts is an excellent one. Just because you're not usually gated in it. You have to consider that too. Like I launched a beauty product when I first did this, and I was gated. And not only that, it was a lot like a 4TV product, which I didn't realize could get you in trouble. Like I wasn't advertising as their product, but it was so much like theirs that was pretty much considered like a knockoff almost. So I got in trouble for that. I got to complain about that, and I had to take it down. I actually didn't sell any, but you have to realize that too. Just because you're not advertising as the same product, if it looks enough like that, they're going to come after you. So you got to be very careful with that. I just didn't understand at the time, so it's a good thing to know. That's why you get a patent search, right? Either design and utility patent is the way to go. So I'm going to search for not clothing, shoes, jewelry. That's good stuff to sell, just not stuff to necessarily make. I mean, unless it's your passion. Computers, accessories. I'm going to search for maybe like arts and crafts and maybe like home and kitchen. I mean, usually like choose like one or two because there's going to be so many results. It's going to be overwhelming unless you make your criteria so strict. All right. So we search for it. See, we come up with 200 plus products. There's just a ton. So maybe let's get rid of home and kitchen for now, and just do a search with arts. And we're still over 200. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take a look and see what I can find. I'm just looking for stuff that's kind of interesting. Stamp platform. I don't even know what that is. What the heck is it? Huh. That's weird. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's just like a book that lets you stamp things easily. I mean, innovative surface precision stamping with rubber and clear stamps. It's almost like that has to be patented, right? Wow. Let me log in here and just. Wow, they sell 21 a day. Do 34,000 in revenue. That's really cool. At $47, really? Wow. Wow. I don't even really like. It just lets you stamp things better. Almost like, does that let this stick to it, and then you stamp it down the paper? I'm like really confused right now. Contains one 9.5 by 11.5 inch stamp platform with 8 by 5, 8 by 5 inch stamping area, side roller, and 2 magnets for use with clear stamps. Ensure the world clear reads when you close it. They have a video. A video would really help out here. I'm really confused by how this sticks onto there. Like, does that just stick to it? Am I like, sometimes I go back and I look at like the videos, I'm like, how did I not realize this earlier? But is that what it is really? Just like a stamp sticks to this side with the ink and it just lets you put it down easier? Is that kind of what we're looking at here? Let's look up stamp platform, I guess. So this one got 1 star and it's new. This is like a stamp platform too. They're selling 12 a day. This is new. Crafter's Companion, stamping platform and magnet. I really don't understand. I still don't understand like what it does. Okay. I mean, this is interesting. I've never seen anything like it. It's amazing the new stuff you kind of see on this. Includes bar magnet and foam pad. The most incredible stamp tool invented. This is the most incredible stamp tool invented. Misty's simple hinge design provides consistent stamping for novice or experienced crafter. Foam pad is included. Raise the cardstock when stamping with clear stamps. Use included bar magnet to quickly and easily position your cardstock, and the included grip paper makes it easy for you to lay out and align your card's design. So this is like for card making, I guess, is what I'm understanding. So it shows them doing it. It shows them. Guess that's putting the ink on it, right? And then they press it down, and there you go. You get your stamp on there. So I guess it's for like card making, like putting a stamp on a card, like as a decorative type of deal. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I know nothing about that. So maybe like card makers on Etsy do it, right? It's really hard to understand of why you would. I mean, I understand it would make the stamp better, but I guess it sticks to one side and just lets you lay the stamp flat and nicely. That's kind of what I'm gathering here. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I guess once I do more research on it. But let's put that aside. That could really be a very interesting. I like using Jungle Scout for this search. Now you can use the extension for. These numbers tend to be inflated, in my opinion. It's not. There's not a ton of competition here, but there's also not a ton of sales. So if I really want to deep dive into this, like we have stamp platform, right? So if that's going to be our keyword, that's where I go over to Cerebro. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to like take this guy here. Now he probably has some kind of patent, but we don't know any of that yet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put him in here and just see what keywords he's kind of making his sales under. And he's clearly making like a decent amount of sales. Now this could be slightly inflated, but if he's doing anywhere near 20 sales a day, that's really not half bad. So my computer's been running so slow. Like, this shouldn't take that long. Okay. So if we look here, like Cerebro Score kind of gives you like what they think like is a valuable term. Like 1,000 is not bad, 1,300 stamping platform, but you know there's not a ton of volume here. There's very low volume. Anything below 1,000 is fairly low. Collectively though, you know you can make some sales off that. And this will show you the rank. So he's ranked on the first page of all these search terms. This is probably the main one, which isn't a huge volume, so not a huge market. But then for his name, like he must have maybe a patent because like he has his own name there, which has 400, which isn't horrible for having your own name. But I don't see any major search volume here, not yet. Tim Holtz. It must be like just a massive brand. Like let me click on this and Tim Holtz stamping. So Tim Holtz must be like a big brand when it comes to stamping, because he has over 8,000 search volume. I don't want to say he, it's probably just like a company, right? So yeah, Tim Holtz must be like big in stamps. I don't know anything about stamping, so I can't say that. That's what I'm saying. I'm not an expert. So I'm kind of looking at this. It's intriguing though. So I don't see a ton of search volume. Like this isn't bad. 1800. There it is again. Tim Holtz stamp. So you could just kind of target him and go after him if he has a similar product. But if he has a patent on it, you'd have to modify it enough, or know how to modify it enough, to even challenge him. So that's concerning. Some of the Chinese sellers don't care and they do it anyway. Small stamps. So not a ton of search volume for most of these, but you could go after that brand specifically. Anyway, it's an interesting product nonetheless. Not a huge search volume for it. Low demand. This isn't always right because this is just for that keyword, right? But it is something to consider. So we'll just kind of put that aside. If I'm looking through here, what I'll do is I will add to a list. Okay, I added it to my list. So there we go. We've marked that one. Kind of an interesting thing, but I don't know. We'll have to do more research on it to make a decision on that. Upholstery, no. Alcohol markers, dual tips, permanent art markers. So what? It's just a box of markers? Yeah. Yeah, just a box of markers, right? Yeah, that's exactly what it is, right? 19 sales a day. Not bad. Just has a... I think the key differentiators here are, number one, he's showing like he has the different types of marker heads, like fine tip for coloring. But what I really like is there's so many colors, and not only that, it looks like he has them marked. I don't know if you guys can see that, but he has them marked by number, and he has a nice carrying case, and then he has how many colors. So really, the ingenious thing about this is just a new way to sell markers, right? So if you're an artist, you want an easy way to carry, or even a kid, right? Like just like to draw, or adult, or whoever. This goes to a wide range. It's not really niched down, but it is niched down to the fact that it's very organized. There's a lot of colors here to draw, and especially if you're going to color with markers. It's going to give you a lot of options for different color schemes. And it also has a nice carrying case, so you can easily take it with you. And each one is numbered, which makes it easy to recall which number you used, so you can go back and grab that number again. So he's done a lot of interesting things here, he or she, excuse me, that has really differentiated this from the pack. So it's funny, it's just a new way to sell markers, right? It's just like a burger with different toppings on it, like and maybe a better carrying case, you know? It's really interesting. I like what they've done, and it just goes to show you that, you know, you would think a market like markers was saturated, but there you go. You just create one that fits more to the needs of maybe a professional artist, even somebody that really wants to have those extra colors in there to maybe draw a sunset, right? Like these colors, right? So you might need multiple different colors, and that's great. And also an easy way to carry it, and an easy way to remind you which one you used. So there's a lot of good things I like about this. Very cool. Even shows some really cool stuff that you know, somebody's drawn. And the different heads that you can use to get more like a fine tip. So I'm guessing this is a seller from China, but I could be wrong. Like what you can do is like click on their brand. Well, that's not that brand. It just searches for that word. But it's kind of unclear if they have a storefront. They have 80 and a 60 and a 168. So they only sell 4 of those, 19 of those. They've kind of done it in multiple ways. Here's another. It doesn't seem like it's working out real great there. Not a lot of sales, right? So they've almost done it multiple ways. Not a lot of sales there either. I think maybe it might be marketing, but it might be more too that like this has so many colors and that's why it's selling well. It's really interesting like why this one sells so much better than this, because it has more colors, and maybe that's what, like I said, the reason people are looking for that. So it looks like they've tried to kind of recreate that in multiple ways, but they aren't necessarily successful because you can see their daily sales really aren't there. So I don't even know what the keyword would really be for this. Like, let's copy this, and again, you can use the extension for Helium too. I just don't have it installed at the moment on this particular browser, but I love Cerebro. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this in Cerebro, and it's going to pull up all the keywords they're ranking for. It's also going to give me the search volume, which I really like. Now you can put multiple ones in there. I like to do one at a time because I feel like it gives me more information. If you do multiple, you can like go top 1 to 10 and everything, but I like to start with one and then I build off of that. So if I check this out, not a ton of search volume here. This is what I'm mainly looking at, search volume. Right there, alcohol-based markers, that's not bad. They're ranked number 7. I really don't know how they're making 20 sales a day off such low search volume. I really don't. That's not a lot, and we're already getting down to like rank number 8. Alcohol, that's not even spelled correctly, but interesting how much search volume it has. And they're ranked 9, so they're probably still on the first page, but there's not a lot of search volume for what they're ranked for. Brush tip, alcohol, and they don't do a lot of sponsoring because you would see it here. So I don't really know how they're making 20 some sales a day on that. It doesn't seem like they're doing a great job with advertising, but you possibly could do well with this. Multicolor marker bag, maybe? Okay. So like right here, here's one that's very similar, 120. This is what I want to pull in the extension. So I might pause it here and jump right back on. And now that I have the extension for Helium 10, I really like this one for certain things. So when I pull this up, it's going to give me a lot of different information, just like Jungle Scout does as well. Average price a little low, but I'm just curious. That's because not all of them are 120 or 160 plus, right? Some of them are very small, but it gives us our monthly sales here, which is interesting. But I'm looking at this one specifically, right? Because it's very much like the one we were looking at. BSR is below 15,000. They are doing pretty well. It's around $37 plus. Just one seller, so it's a private label product. They're sponsored. I want to see related keywords too. It usually gives us some. It doesn't give us any. So let's see, not available in the search volume, which means it probably really isn't much. So this clearly isn't the keyword. We need to figure out what is the keyword. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go to Cerebro. Let's erase this one. Let's see where they're getting their sales. Wait for it to load. Hopefully it does this time. Usually doesn't take this long, but it's doing it again. It's like the third time today. I don't know if it's Helium or if it's just my computer. Alright, anyway, yeah, that wasn't too bad. So, good markers. Like, I guess people just mean like good quality markers, right? 1,300, not horrible, still not enough to really launch a product around. You want to be looking for, like, there's one, for adult coloring, markers for adult coloring. So they're ranked 23rd. They're probably not getting a lot of sales there, but like they are doing some sponsoring, right? And I think this is just a lack of putting money out there to sponsor themselves. Really, you could potentially sell this product or one like it if you put out the the sponsorship for it, which it doesn't seem like they're doing. If I jump back to page 1, like they're not sponsoring themselves on very high search volume here. They might be running like an auto campaign, like 123 search volume. Like it's not going to make you many sales, but you can still see they're making sales here, and they're not really sponsoring themselves on high search volume. So there's not, maybe it's just too competitive to do it, and maybe that's why. Maybe they're spending too much. Maybe they tried, but they're still selling like a decent amount. 1,400 Artify markers, so a lot of brands. So the search volume isn't anything crazy, but if you were to like click on this, you're gonna see like the top search volume is gonna be like astronomically high. Usually you'll have, we're on page 2. But these are kind of the ones you want to go after. So they're sponsored #1 for Korean pens. Maybe that's a thing. I've never heard of it referred to as that, but I don't know enough about it. But 2,500 is not bad. If they're ranked for a lot of these keywords in here, they can make some really good sales, right? Like they're ranked like 11th on sponsorship. And this is Pluma. I don't know. Is that like another word for markers? I don't know. Is that Spanish for markers or something? Like, don't think I'm stupid if it isn't. I don't know what that word means. Yeah. So Spanish to English, it must be for like markers, right? So there you go. And I took 3 years of Spanish. I still don't have a clue. But yeah, look what comes up when you type that in. That's very interesting, right? Like that one we were looking at first time. So yeah, like the Spanish word, and that's what you don't want to forget. The Spanish word is drawing some attention there. So don't limit yourself to just one language. So there's a lot of nice keywords in here that you can go after, like Copic sketch markers. I don't even know what that means. So again, you'd want to become an expert on this. Bullet journal pens, right? Kids markers. That's simple enough. But look, 4,000. You could rank with that, no problem. Search volume's up 20%. Artist markers. So there's a lot of search volume keywords you could rank for, and this is just page 2. But you can compete on those 4,000 search volume keywords. If you'll notice as we go up here, like it's going to be extremely difficult just to rank on markers, right? You're going to probably find like Crayola up here. Right? There's Crayola, right? Because there's such a huge marker brand, right? Like they do so many things with markers. So Crayola kind of dominates this. 551 sales a day. Can you imagine? So you're not really going to go after that keyword. You're just not. Unless you have a wish to lose all your money in PPC. Or even, I don't even know what that is. Is that a brand or whatnot? But 66,000 search, that's quite a bit. Like, I would probably hope to eventually get up to the 20,000s and the 10,000s, maybe even the 30s, but like alcohol marker, that's a hell of a thing to try to rank for. But there you go. There's one with 168 colors right there. And then they have 26, so they're spending probably a boatload. And they pretty much just copied, and they're only making 2 sales a day. So this is kind of a thing. People copied off of it, off the originators. Nothing wrong with that. You can see how they have the numbers and everything. So, there's a lot of the same stuff out there. Right here. 216 colors, different brand altogether, 14 a day. So you could make sales with this potentially, but, in the end, it's going to come down to probably price and advertising. And you can make a different kind of bag. You'd have to almost add something to it. But look, I mean, they have 7,000 reviews. They're doing 84 sales a day. So they were probably one of the original ones, right? There's just so many that are the same. It's not something I would be interested in doing. You could make sales doing it, but I would want to add something to it to make it a little bit better. Maybe add in a pen set with it that's similar to that, or add in a different type of bag that can hold other things. Like maybe include professional paper with it, or a spot on the bag to hold professional paper where you could draw, or graph paper. I don't know what artists use, right? So you want to maybe bundle it with something, combine it with something. If I was going to do this, it's clearly massive sales. You can see if you pull this up, there's a ton of people doing 40, 30. It's going to say high competition, like high. It's going to be like both high. So just wait and see what it says. But you can see there's just massive competition here. There's also massive volume. So could you sell in this market? Yeah, you could. You'd have to make it a little different though. So there you go. What did I say? High and high. High demand, high competition. Yeah, you can sell in markets like that. But you have to try to like find something to be a little bit different, a little bit better. You might try to fit in with the crowd and just work your way up a sponsorship, but that'd be difficult. So what you're going to want to look for is ones with low reviews. So ratings, I don't see reviews under here. I think you have to add it. Let me pull it up in Cerebro. So if I'm looking here, like revenues are off the charts for some of these, really high, really good. BSR is pretty good for so many of these. Like look at how low. Related keywords, that's what I was talking about earlier. It definitely gives you some under this search term. It's going to give us some related keywords. Look at all these related keywords. Like alcohol markets is massive. Then it'll tell you if the competition's high or low. You can see that there's not many that, a lot of them have higher reviews. If you could find a good example in here that maybe 2 or 3, it's such a huge market that had low reviews and they're making good sales, kind of proves that you could do well there. And you can kind of see 1 year, it's pretty steady. It has its spike up in, Christmas time. That's when a lot of people are buying gifts, of course. So you're going to notice this spikes all around Christmas time, right? It's in December almost every time. But the overall trend, too, it's going up. So that's a good thing. Again, you'd have to find kind of another way to differentiate this instead of what they're doing with the numbers and the blocks. Add something to it, bundle it. That's what I would try to do. And it's just not something I'm interested in doing. It's very high search volume, which is good. And you could potentially work your way up. But some of the other thing that I would look for before I ever launched, I'd go put some of these into my Amazon and see what the key search words were and how much they cost to bid on them, because you could waste so much money bidding on these. But as we know by using Cerebro, that there's a ton of keywords down here, the 4,000s, the 3,000s, that we could go after, the 2,000s, that we can make sales there. So that's a great part about having a massive volume, a massive appeal, because markers are such a broad market, but you can niche down within that market and try to make it specific to the market. It's just hard to do sometimes. So the first one to create that box and do those numbers on them, they made it killing. They made it different. So if you can make yours a little different, you can do really well. I'm going to pass on that one for now, but it's not impossible to make good sales in this market. It truly isn't. Don't listen to people just say, oh, it's too high competition. If that were the case, why are there so many doing so many sales? You can find a way to do it. You just have to make it a little bit different, a little bit better, and you'll be amazed with all the search volume. So moving on. Let's go back to Black Box here. What happened to my... Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. I must have removed Black Box, and so it was interesting. You could make sales in that market. You just gotta. Not something I'm interested in doing. I'm trying to find something maybe a little smaller, a little less competitive, but unless I have a great idea. Okay. So let's see. Cardstock. Haven't seen anything jump out at me. I'm kind of looking for maybe something that's a little unusual. Yeah, it's just like birchwood panels. You can sell general stuff. Just it's not necessarily easy to do, but you can. Sometimes you can sell like general stuff. Fashion patterns, 12-inch roll-on. So this is like, I guess you just roll this on to like a shirt. Vinyl. Heat transfer to heat. Yeah, so I guess you can just transfer this on to, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. Again, I don't understand the market. But it could be for shirts, but maybe for like walls. I'm not entirely sure. I have to look it up more, but not really something I'm interested in. A sewing machine case with attachable dolly. That's interesting. Now they have quite a few reviews, but it's funny I was talking about sewing earlier. Now you can see that like, they went over like above and beyond. Like you can see they have like the different spots for like the threads here. Hopefully you guys can see that. For the sewing machine itself, these little pockets for other sewing stuff. See, if you really understood sewing, you would understand like this bag. You have your scissors and everything in there. Your measuring, your ruler. Like this kind of gives you options to put everything you want in there, and it's very specific to a sewer. So, and it has this little dolly, which is really interesting. So yeah, with a removable padding pad. So that's very cool. They've very much catered it to the sewer, and it's not even niched down that much, but they understand the sewer, that the person would want to be a sewer. So like, let's watch this video. Very neat. I like how they have the dolly, right? So if you're traveling, so look at that. Like the top gets zipped in there. Ah, this is how you add the dolly. How neat is that? Many of you might be saying, like, I can't design something like that. Like, you might be right. You might eventually get to that point where somebody can do that for you. Inner pocket. See, this is really just an organization tool specifically for sewers, right? Very cool. Plenty of room for all your stuff, right? Measuring tape. Zip up. But there's more. And there's a spot for all the pouches for all the sewing materials. Very cool. Yeah. So I think we don't have to watch anymore, but you guys get the idea. Very cool. So really nice video. They have different patterns, which is really cool. Not something I'd be interested in, but it is intriguing. You'd have to look up the keywords for that and kind of find out more. But, you know, I wouldn't completely rule it out. You just have to, they have a lot of variations, though. You'd have to kind of see what the options were there. And that's something I'm going to tackle, though. Donuts. Yeah, I don't know. Foam Rush Mattress Cooling Gel. Huh. Nope. Alright. So this is a scrapbook. Self-adhesive scrapbook, magnetic album, do-it-yourself scrapbook. So scrapbooking is obviously a pretty big market. They have ones with different pages, and they have quite a few colors. So to say that they have like high sales, which is wow, 106, it's because they have so many variations. But really, they're doing really well there. It's just a really nice scrapbooking, and they have a little tool there to apparently to like probably let you glue it down. It said magnetic though too, which let's check it out. There's no sound, so if you don't hear any sound, it's not just, it's just showing you linen materials. I see. So that's like a sticky paper. That's very cool. Huh. Look at that. Very, very neat. And you can color on it too. Wow. Comes right off. That's really slick. And then you just put this sheet right back over it. How cool is that? Yeah, waterproof. Detachable pages. No kidding. It's a very cool item. Very cool. You can see it's really made for the scrapbooker. You don't have to have glue. You don't have to have anything else but the book itself, and just stick them in there. You can write right in it, different colors. Really, that's ingenious. So, question is, what is the main keywords for this? Let's again go back to Black Box. Excuse me, Cerebro. And I don't know why we have Black Box up twice. Alright. Let's go to Cerebro. And let's put in the ASIN and kind of see, where they're getting their sales at. And, this, if you notice, this can take some time. Like, it's not a super fast process sometimes. You have to do your research and look through things. But we've already found some very interesting stuff, I think. This one's a very cool item. I'm not a scrapbooker, but I know my wife has relatives, I think, that do scrapbooking. So that is an expert, or not an expert. That's the target market you want to go after. So I'd probably go to them and say, what do you think about this? What do you think about these ideas? And you'd have to find out, I don't know why it's taking so long. You'd have to find out if it's a patented idea. If it's patented, you obviously can't incorporate that in there. So that's why it's important to have a patent search. But let's find out. Why are you not working for me, Cerebro? Why are you not working? Victory. Alright. So, let's see. Scrapbooking, not really anything that stands out here. Nothing behind the search volume for all these, right? So they're really ranked on a lot of lower volume search words, which is okay. But what are the main keywords here? Self-adhesive. Sorry about that, guys. I just got a message from one of my VAs just regarding pay. I pay probably about $3,800 to $4,000 a month for my 10 VAs, which is actually pretty good. They're doing an awesome job. But yeah, just one of my VAs just happened to message me, and I put a little extra in there for them because they do a great job. So yeah, so kind of distracting, but again, these are things I got to constantly deal with because I have the eBay thing, the Facebook thing. Got to stay on top of those, and then of course Amazon. So let's continue on here. So like here we go, photo album self-stick. Like they're number 5 there. That's huge. And the self-stick thing must be a regular thing, which leads me to believe that there might not be, maybe there is a patent on it, maybe there isn't. So, looks pretty good. Magnetic self-stick 3-ring photo album. 239 sales a day. Wow. There's the one we looked at. So really some big players in here. Let's see if we can find that elusive one that doesn't have a lot of reviews. So if we go to menu, we should be able to customize it, and we should be able to put